So now we are going to take a little interest in the channel box. The channel box that we have used a little bit previously, but that we will look at in a bit more detail. So the channel box, as we have seen, if we take for example a cylinder, we have information that has just arrived. We saw that by moving our cylinder we had numbers, we had data that appeared. These data represent the coordinates of the mesh. So this channel box will allow us to do several things. It will allow us to manipulate objects much more easily. Let me explain. So you see here our cylinder. We can rotate it like this, indeed. But it's a bit more difficult, for example, if we are with that camera. We have a little less ease in rotating on lax, the z-axis. We have to rotate the camera to do that, and then to move like this. Finally, you see what the 3D scene looks like in its entirety. Therefore, it is a space, and you will need to rotate around the object. So, we have some little tips that allow us to use the channel box. I'm going to take a cylinder now. There are other tips that allow for more precise control of these numbers, these coordinates. For example, if I want to rotate my cylinder string, I just need to select Rotate X, and then, by holding down the middle mouse button and sliding, you can see that I can vary this rotation. And do this to finally set it to 0. I can do this for several. By holding Shift and selecting what I want, and there you see that I have more ease. So more ease can certainly indeed depend, but to rotate our object, so this is something that can be quite practical. We have another thing that can also be useful in certain cases, which is that we can lock attributes. In fact, if you want, all of this consists of coordinates. They are mainly attributes. Attributes that we give to our mesh, translate, rotate, and scale attributes. We set what we want, we rotate our object like this, and we don't want it to move anymore. So we could freeze our rotate like this, and it will be at 0. But we could still move our rotation, which would give us new coordinates. What we can do is select, either by holding Shift, or by dragging and selecting what we want. So here we will select all the rotates, the rotate X, rotate Y, and rotate Z. You can right click and voila, right click, and there we have quite a few options. So we won't explore all these possibilities, but we will look at some of them. We will mainly focus on the fact that we can lock these coordinates. So if I click lock selected, it shows me it's small, it highlights those coordinates. And then we realize that if we want to rotate, well, we can't anymore because it's locked, it's secured if you will. I can unlock, for example, the rotate X with unlock selected by right clicking, and there you see that I have access to that, but I only have access to my rotate X. I cannot rotate in Y or Z. So that can be quite interesting. So we will, in this step, specifically unlock the rotate Y and rotate Z and precisely. So this is what you need to know in general about these famous coordinates, these famous attributes. We also have something nice here, which is the inputs. So it's not just here that we can modify this information. We can also modify it in the edit attribute. You will see. So we are going to delete this cylinder and we will take a cube. Here is our cube. We will just enable the wireframe. And now we can click below the input. We have polycube. And if we click on this, we get several pieces of information. We will be able to directly change the width of our mesh. So it's the same. We click on it and we drag and drop. You can also enter a value. For example, you can put 5. So that's something we can do like this. We can also do it like this, of course like this, but then the data doesn't appear here. This is really the basic input if we want to give a base width to our mesh. We can do this for the height, for the depth, so in Z, essentially, basically, in essence, in the Z direction. There you go. We can also give it subdivisions, which we will cover in detail in a future video, but basically, we will be able to add edges, stops,
meaning that subdivisions relate to topology. We will be able to apply this to our cube, and it will be really useful for making modeling easier.